All right, Steph, it's 3 o'clock. What do you say? Do we get started?
Sounds good.
All right. I'd like to start out by welcoming you all here today, and I hope you had a wonderful winter break and found some time to relax and do something that makes you happy. And here we are, back to virtual learning. So the purpose of today is to kind of go over what the next week will look like and address any questions that you may have about that. So actually, before we start down that road, we'll start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we are connecting through today is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. By personally making a land acknowledgement, you are taking part in an act of reconciliation, honoring the land and Indigenous heritage. So as I mentioned, the purpose of today is to look at what the different remote learning options are for students this week, and looking at what that means to you as a curriculum partner and what that structure will look like for you throughout the week, and to provide some guidance and ideas from experienced online teachers. And I know there are some joining us here today. I see them in as a participant. So I encourage you guys, I see Kristen and Kathy, Josh, I'm not sure if I missed anyone else coming in later on. At any point, we really would encourage you to speak up and join in the conversation. It would be so helpful, as you have been living this for a few months now. So you know best what sort of advice to offer to our teachers joining us today.
So feel free at any time during the session today. If you have questions, pop them into the chat. You can unmute yourself and ask a question if that's okay for you too. But make sure to ask your questions while we're here so that we can help, and so the virtual teachers can help with questions that you might have about the remote learning.
All right. So you are probably already aware of the memo that came out last week, I believe it was, on what the different learning options are for our students during this week. And it comes down to basically two options. And in both options, the learning for kindergarten students is a total of 180 minutes of synchronous time. And for our grade 1 to 8 students, we're looking at 225 minutes of synchronous learning.
So there's been lots of questions about the synchronous versus asynchronous learning and what that looks like. Pam was in our last session that we had at 2. And so one of the things that she mentioned is this 225 minutes or 180 minutes does not mean that you are running the Miss Wood show for 225 minutes or 180 minutes for the day. You may be doing a short lesson, and then your students are going to go and work while you are in the meet and they can ask questions. It does not mean that you are in front of the device teaching for the full 225 minutes. And it also includes your prep time. So that 225 minutes is total for the students.
Thanks for clarifying. You're right, Steph. And please, guys, at any point, don't hesitate to unmute and seek clarification if anything we're saying is not clear to you. So like Steph said, it is not necessarily you up there, just like in a classroom, you would not be up there the whole time on stage presenting, talking, but it does mean you are available to students during that duration. And so some examples might be questions, reading, writing tasks, activities, projects, pre-recorded video demonstrations, tutorials, any sort of learning that you feel is relevant for this time. And quite honestly, we've all been away for 2 weeks. It might just be a time, especially the first day or so, just to reconnect and see how everyone's doing.
Oh, so there's a question in the chat. So that the emphasis in the spring was on the core subjects, right? English, language arts, math. So that is not the case now. We're looking at, this is our regular day. We have the subjects, that we have during the regular day. But you are looking at material that you've already covered.
So students are offered two options for this week. And the first one is that they will participate in on-demand activities with live teacher support. So that is what we were talking about, that synchronous learning time. They are assigned tasks with the classroom teacher leading the learning, and in this case, as their curriculum partner leading the learning. And you will be as a curriculum partner, like Steph said in the past, last year, you may or may not have been involved in the Google Meets or to varying degrees. This year, it is a little bit different in that you will be part of that whole student learning experience. So option one is engaging in synchronous learning, whereas option two is where students are opting out of the synchronous part of the learning and they are choosing strictly on demand. So that is where you would be posting things in their Seesaw or Google Classroom for them to participate in. And I think the important part here is that last bullet point where curriculum partner teachers will provide instruction via on-demand activities for up to 75% of their scheduled time with the class. So when you would normally be with some students, you'll be connecting synchronously for 75% of their time. Those that are not choosing to engage synchronously, you will provide activities for them to do that will take approximately 75% of that scheduled time. Are there any questions or clarifications needed there? I can't see the chat, Steph, so.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my audio. Just around teachers asking teachers to move times during the day.
Okay.
So I don't know how your schedules run, but a lot of prep teachers have periods back to back to back to back. So changing timetable may not be possible. And that's definitely a question that you need to take up with admin, how you're going to organize your day.
Steph, you're going to keep an eye on that chat for me, right? Oh, go ahead, Elise.
To keep the same schedule with the 2 40-minute breaks. But then what does that work if the day is shortened?
Can you repeat that?
Sorry, yeah. So they were told to keep the same schedule, which is what we've been instructed through the memo, keep the same timetable for your day at your school with the 2 40-minute breaks. So what happens when the day is shortened?
So the day may or may not be shortened depending on your schedule, right? So your students are to be provided that 225 minutes of synchronous learning with a teacher, right? Obviously a portion of that comes from a curriculum partner, but total time students will have 225 minutes, which could shorten the day slightly, but we're finding most teachers are choosing just to pepper in a few more breaks throughout the day or extend some of those breaks just to break up that sitting time in front of the computer. And especially if you're, as a curriculum partner, if you are providing in the last part of the day, you don't have, most cases, you don't have that flexibility to change your schedule. So students will have to show up during the normal schedule time. So the school day isn't necessarily shortened as in the end time, but there will be more breaks maybe throughout the day.
Robin has a question too, just around should curriculum partners be holding 5 to 6 Google Meets a day? So you can just schedule one Google Meet in your calendar and then have students sent to your Google Meet at your time, and then you can send them back to the classroom teachers meet via the chat, or if they get in the habit of going to the Google Classroom or the Seesaw and clicking on the link for their regular Google Meet. So you shouldn't necessarily have to have multiple different Google Meets. You should be able to have one room that is, say, Ms. Wolf's room that they would go to.
Can I ask so if this is what we've been doing at the online school, I guess just to put this in everyone's heads.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, it's first of all, a lot of the prep teachers are finding it's easier to just go into the home teacher's Google Meet. So then they have to be invited to their Seesaw classroom and their Google Classroom, because then that way they don't have kids jumping back and forth and getting lost, especially the younger ones. Just putting that in the minds of anyone who's asking about, you know, what to do in that regard. And I guess in another way, like, because I see Colin's question in the chat, like, again, at the virtual school, we have like 80 minutes of break throughout the day, like we have, or 60 even, 60 minutes only, because then they have, well, no, actually, then there's a 20, sorry guys. It's just totally set up differently. But then the kids are in async time from 2 till 3, and the teachers are available, and you can set work or not. So just again, to give you an idea, for those who are like, what do I do? Like, essentially our third block of the day is async time, with the teacher being available for some of the time.
Right. So that's where ours this week is a little different for the bricks and mortar school than the virtual school, because like you said, you have all of your async time at the end of the day. Right now, just because we have school schedules already built, we have to stick with those. And so there's more asynchronous time peppered in throughout the day, as opposed to a big chunk at the end of the day that the virtual school has. We got lots coming through in the chat there.
Sure, yeah.
And I know Elise, Steph, can you just hold 1 second? Elise has been trying to speak up there.
Sorry, my question is about the on-demand. So how, if students have chosen to do on-demand for the week, should we know this and like send them work to do? And then what do you do if a kid doesn't show up to a class? Do you just send them the on-demand stuff as well?
Okay, so classroom teachers today were connecting with their students to see what exactly their plans were for the week, whether they will be doing the synchronous or the on-demand stuff. So you will have to connect with the classroom teachers to find out exactly which students are doing what, right? And then definitely provide work for students. Attendance is being taken as normal. There's always a possibility that some students will say, we're just opting out for the week. Naturally, that's not something you have control over. Provide the work through Seesaw as if they were going to engage in an on-demand way, and do the attendance at normal scheduled time that you usually would. Does that answer your question, Elise?
I think so. So, and if they just don't show up to class, do you still just send it anyway then?
Post it anyways, I would, yep, as an on-demand, and then
it just gets tricky on Seesaw because there's like so many things going on.
Yeah. So I think once you know whether the students are planning to engage synchronously or not, that will help clarify things for you. And then if you're continuing to see that you have students that are not engaging in any way, whether the on-demand or synchronous, then you'll want to have that conversation with your principal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Josh, I just saw. Josh, do you mind unmuting? Josh is coming to us from the virtual school, so I would love it if you guys would join in this conversation at any point.
Yes, just an aside for any of the prep teachers, talking about your own link. I teach grade 2s and grade 3s core French, and before Christmas, I was going into the classroom with the one link, with the teacher's link, and I started using my own link for French, and it's made a world of difference for classroom management. Because if you own your own link, you can mute and you can close down chat or open chat. It's much easier to post links, and then you don't have to rely on the homeroom teacher being in the meet as well to help with classroom management. So for me, it's worked a lot better having my own links. And the grade 2s and 3s honestly navigate. They're pretty computer savvy, so they navigate the links pretty well. The homeroom teacher can put the link in the chat ahead of time and just have them transfer over, or in Seesaw and they can transfer over. And then when they want to go back to class, the prep teacher can put the homeroom link back in chat and they can transfer back. It works pretty seamless.
It's going to take practice, right? Anything new there's going to be bumps, and expect that. But that's what my understanding too is, Josh, from the virtual school, is that especially if that classroom teacher posts the link in the chat just as they're about to join you, all they have to do is click on it. And then likewise, if you do it back to them to rejoin their classroom teacher at the end of your lesson.
Yeah,
So
and
Angela, I was going to say the same thing. We've even found in the virtual school that when we have a supply teacher, it's better for the supply teacher to provide their own link so that they can control the meet. And the students really adapt to the technology quickly. They can find the chat faster than I can most days. And I've got grade 1s and 2s, and they're back and forth all day long.
Awesome. So it's possible. You might just have to walk them through it those first few days. But I know some people have decided that they want to just seeing it as it's only 4 days and maybe I only have a 30-minute lesson with the kids. I'm just going to go into the teachers meet. If you're comfortable with that and the classroom teacher is comfortable with that, I think that's a valid option as well. But to be prepared to have a meet is key, I think, here.
A question about transferring control. If you have prep at the end of the day. Yeah.
No, we
So-
found no way to do that.
Yeah, so you're best to have your own meet.
All right, so right now we're just going to quickly transition to what are your meets going to look like this week, and what are those on-demand activities going to look like? And we really encourage you to just review what you've already done. This isn't really a time to start experimenting with brand new stuff and new content. Reconnect with your students, and just doing those check-ins mean a lot to them. And advice that we have heard from the virtual school is, especially in those early days, just keeping it as simple as possible. Does anyone from the virtual school feel comfortable just speaking up to that a little bit and what that means to you?
Less work takes more time.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly, that's the.
What do you mean by that,
true.
Kristen?
Pardon?
What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, at the beginning, I was scheduling probably as much work as I would give them in person. And they were quickly overwhelmed because we have to remember they don't use tech every day, and they're not like adults who know how to type decently, at least. So expecting them, okay, I want a page story, and I'll give you 15 minutes. Like, I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating, I suppose there. So it takes them a lot longer, even if you're doing, I mean, I'm working with older ones, okay? So a lot of the time they weren't using Google Read and Write, but they are now because they've had the training. And even then, it's still taking a lot longer to get quality work out of them than I would expect in a classroom.
And I'm finding the same thing. If I give them a lot of work, I get a lot of work back that's done very badly or kind of not done or done backwards. If I give them one very simple task, sometimes I find that for one thing, it's not as simple as I thought it was, but also it gives them the chance to do some quality work. If I say, yes, this is easy, but you've got 10 minutes. So what can you do to make it fantastic? Or, what can you do to do a good job? The other thing is with the younger grades, they aren't good at typing. So I am making them do everything on paper. I can't send most of them worksheets because they don't all have printers. So whatever they do in written form is going to take them quite a bit longer because it's not being done off a worksheet where more of the words are already written down for them. So to get good quality work, you do try to keep it simple, especially in the younger grades. And the idea of them doing paper and pencil and sending you a picture works really well with the younger grades.
Definitely a workaround for the tech, right? If tech isn't a point of ease for students, that's one way around it for sure. Snap a picture and send it in.
Grade 1 kids can't type. But,
For
So.
sure. Thank you. Are there any questions from our participants to any of our virtual school teachers in regards to what that might look like?
There's lots of questions about gym.
Jim, okay, let's hear them.
So just what gym looks like, what are they doing? Are they doing live? Are they assigning a workout? And then Allison mentioned that she's told them that they need to have enough space to do stretches and those kind of things.
Okay, does anyone from the virtual school want to talk about what your gym class looks like?
I'm not from the virtual school, but I did see Ophia has a bunch of resources. Don't know if they're good, but they're there. People want to look at them.
For virtual?
Yeah, they
Awesome.
kind of give lesson ideas, but I haven't tried them, so they might be terrible. So don't know.
Some of the teachers mentioned in the previous meeting to try and do like 20 minutes of gym. So doing like, if you teach your own gym, doing it in smaller blocks, which might not be possible for some of you if you're scheduled for that time, but that was something they mentioned.
Hi, I used some of the Ophia, can you hear me?
Yes.
I used some of the Ophia lessons back in the spring. I'm not sure if that's what Elise was referring to, but they are very good. What I did is I made a gym lesson in Google Docs and then uploaded it to Seesaw, and I included a warm up, then some skills, a dance, and then maybe some choice. But they were quite good if you want them to do more skills, and they really like stuff that parents would have at home.
Awesome.
Anyways.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, Cosmic Yoga is really good too.
What one is that?
Cosmic Yoga.
Yeah.
And they can be about 15 or 20-minute yoga lesson.
And don't forget that part of the synchronous means you are there, you're available, you're maybe leading at the beginning of the lesson, but then it might be you sending them off to complete an activity independently, right? The little workout routine or whatever it is you come up with. That they don't necessarily have to be on that screen in front of you the whole time during that.
This is it my turn?
Sure.
This is my first time teaching phys ed, and I'm doing it online. I found, because I teach the 7s and 8s, they've had enough yoga, but the Ophia site has been very, very helpful. There's that one with the 50 activities. So it's like teaching science, go over some safety issues first, and then they do the 50 activities over a period of 2 weeks, and they log their participation. So that's part of Synchronous. It's sync and async combined, and the kids seem to really like it.
Thank you for sharing that, Colette. Okay.
Again, with the younger kids, often I've been doing a lot of silly workout videos with them, but now we've moved into them making their own silly workout videos so that they are leading the class. I present the video they sent to me, and the kids have to do the 10 jumping jacks and the 10 this and the 10 that with their friends. So it's kind of like when you get them to do that kind of thing in the gym in small groups, except they're each doing one. And they are quite the performers.
Okay. So we also just want to bring your attention to some supports that are already out there. We will be continuing to offer sessions throughout the week, so we encourage you to come back and connect. And we haven't really talked about this stuff, but I'm just thinking on the spot, we can maybe look at breakout rooms by subject area, because we have such a wide range, right, of teachers joining us. That's something we might be able to offer so that you can share resource ideas and lesson ideas.
We have lots of sharing happening in the chat right now. So that's great. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So just as a reminder, I'm going to see if I can do this. Last spring, there was a website created where there were some resources posted, on-demand learning for yourself regarding Seesaw, Google Classroom, and there's a variety of teacher supports there that we can, like, just to remind you that they're still there. And any sessions from this week will also be posted on the elementary program blog spot. So you can always, if you're not able to join us, check them out there.
There was also a link posted to Melissa Dent's website that she set up for the virtual school, which has all kinds of ideas on it, as well as further up in the chat. So you may have to scroll back a little bit.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention. All right, so I don't think we need to really get into this, but if you are not familiar with what the expectations are for the week, it was all outlined in the memo that was emailed out last week, and you can always find it on the portal for further clarification. Steph, are you comfortable talking to this? Oh, sorry, this is our Google Meet. I know what this is. So some of you I know are new to Google Meet. And again, I encourage virtual teachers, please join me at any point or correct me at any point if I have any of this incorrect. But you are able, one of the big questions that frequently comes up is how to see everyone in your class, because by default, you will not see everyone. So if you click on those three dots in the bottom right corner of your screen, you will then be able to click on change layout, and then you can change it to a tiled view.
So this is important to show your students how to do as well, so that they can see their classmates. And as well, practicing the muting and unmuting, turning their camera on, turning their camera off. There's all kinds of great games you can play that are that have you turn your screen on if, or turn your camera on off if, just to practice those things. The raising their hand is nice that we have this option now. If you have a device with an older version of Meet, it may not have the raised hand option. So if your students tell you they can't see it, it may not be there if it's an older version. But most of your students should have one that has the raised hand, so they can say, oh, I want to share, and then you can call on those students to share. The captions is also nice for students if they turn them on, because then they have the closed captioning at the bottom of the screen. Oh, sorry. And then you're talking about, you go ahead.
I've got too many screens going on. I don't even know where I am anymore.
Okay. So also, if you, this one is important if you want to be able to, especially, we often hear that people don't have sound, or the students can't hear what is being presented. When you are sharing your screen, it's very important that you share a tab as opposed to your entire screen. Because sometimes if you share your entire screen, the video sound or the sound that you have playing won't play. Also, if you're sharing a video on YouTube in a tab and they have no sound, check to make sure the volume on the video itself is turned up, because sometimes that can happen as well. And I thought of something else, but then it's gone. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you do have to enunciate carefully with the captions. So yeah, it really depends, but for some students, it really is helpful, even if there are some words that are typed incorrectly. Obviously, it's artificial intelligence captioning.
And it doesn't do French at all.
I think if you ran your machine entirely in French, it should. Like if you had your iOS running in French.
Well, I don't know how to do that, but it's not picking up my little patois. It doesn't work for me at all.
Other advice that has come from our virtual teachers that they've been successful with is joining, presenting from a secondary device, if that's an option. Of course, that's not for everybody, but if you do have, say, a laptop and an iPad, it does allow you that way to present your screen, do all your work from one screen, but yet keep your students front and center for you throughout.
You do have to turn your sound off and turn the volume down on your other device so you don't get echoing within your two devices that you're working from. And the other thing mentioned was that you can teach your kids how to share their screen, because then you can have students show, so Sally, can you show us where you're going to go to find that assignment? And practicing having them do that as a getting to know you activity too. They could share their desktop, and then you can see what apps they have installed and those kinds of things. So that's also a good skill for them to learn how to do.
So in the memo, you will notice that students are not required to turn their cameras on. And as you can imagine, there's probably many reasons why a student may choose not to turn their camera on. However, it seems that teachers have a preference for when they do turn it on. So although you're not going to force them to do anything they're not comfortable with, you may want to consider ways to promote and encourage students to turn their camera on. Virtual school teachers, I know you have a lot more experience in this area than we do. Do you have any advice that you might be able to offer?
I think it's nice if they have their camera on, and I compliment them when they do. But I think we have to be cognizant that not all students want to be visible. And perhaps what's in the background, they don't want to be visible. So it's not a hill I'm going to die on. If I see them, that's great. But I like their mics off too. But no, as for the intermediates, I'm not going to force them to have their cameras on.
For sure.
One thing I found that helped, I had a few students who were extremely shy and anxious, and they didn't like talking with the microphone. They didn't like being seen. So I would have a private meet with them after school or during recess. And every once in a while, like after a little bit of time, they became more comfortable. They would turn on their mics more when it was just me. They would turn on their camera more when it was just me. And eventually they were able to join the class, at least to make a few comments through the day with the class. But there are some kids with anxiety who find it very difficult to speak into a microphone or speak to in the virtual world.
That's a great point, Kathy. The meeting at the end of the day during our time like that, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay, so that brings us to your specific roles as curriculum partners. Hopefully, I just want to go over all of this. Hopefully you've already got this in place. If not, you still have a little bit of time, but you need to ensure that you have a plan in place that allows you to connect with the class, right? So that's through that Google Meet, whether you decide that you're going to host your own Google Meet or just join the classroom teacher. That needs to all be prearranged, and you need to be linked to the classroom Seesaw or Google Class account so that you're able to post and interact with students that way. And just as a reminder, for grades 1 to 8, up to 70, you will be available synchronously up to 75% of your normally scheduled time. And so for our FDK, that's a little bit less. It's 60% of the regular scheduled time. Are there any questions on any of that?
There's no questions in the chat right now.
Great. Okay. So we're getting near the end. Just as a reminder, this attendance will be taken this year, and students were given option 1 or option 2, as in they will join synchronously or they will choose on demand. In the spring, there was an opt-out option that is not on the table this time around. So if students do not participate, they will be marked absent. And participation does include those on-demand tasks. So if that's what they're choosing, they will be marked present for those. So please make sure you check in with your administrator as to the attendance requirements. My understanding is it is the same schedule that it would usually be at the school. So if you have a class at a particular time when you would normally have to do their attendance, that would also be the case for the virtual week.
There's some good tips being shared in the chat. Just some students, Kathy mentioned that some students leave the meet while they're working because they find the noise distracting. And then just reminding those students to set a timer when to come back. We're letting them know when to come back. And then also when using an iPad, if they go to a different app, their camera automatically turns black. So if students are there and then perhaps it just shows their little initials, that's the word I'm looking for. They might be using a different app, right? If you've sent them to go check something in Seesaw, or if you sent them to go work on a Google Doc somewhere.
So the biggest advice that we've heard from working with the virtual school is just to give yourself permission to be flexible and to understand that there will be issues that arise, and that's okay. I'm just going to take it one day at a time. Give yourself permission to deviate from your plan, right? You're not going to be able to cover the same level of curriculum as you maybe would in the classroom. And that's quite all right. And really this week should be focusing on just review and reconnecting with the students. And follow your students' needs. If they need a break, give them that little break they need. You have some flexibility in your schedule for that very reason. Virtual teachers, any other great tips or wisdom that you would like to share?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Sorry to be that teacher at the end of the meeting that has the last question.
That's what this is for.
I'm texting back and forth right now with a teacher that I'm cooperatively teaching with, and she came from the virtual school. So she has all these great ideas of how to make a very simplified schedule that looks like the virtual teaching schedule, and to keep the day consistent each day for 5 days. But it doesn't line up with the schedule we have in the school right now with all the movement back and forth. So we're trying to figure out, do we simplify the schedule, get everyone on board to agree, or do we just keep the schedule as it is and have the kids going back and forth or the teachers going back and forth? We're trying to figure out which is less confusing.
Well, without knowing the details of the schedules, I think it's really a conversation you'll want to have with your administrator.
Okay.
We've been directed to follow the school schedule. I don't think that's to say if something makes more sense and it works for everybody, then I'm sure there's flexibility in that. But the direction has been to follow the school schedule. So if you're looking to deviate from that, I would highly recommend having that conversation with your administrator.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you.
If you're a prep teacher, I suggest if you're using different links, setting up a Google Doc that has all the teachers and the links all on one Google Doc, and that'll really help you transition between the different meets if you're going to use somebody else's meet. Just a little tip I picked up.
That's a great idea. And even if you are using your own in order to post the classroom link back to the students, if you could have access to everyone's, and like you said, in a Google Doc that you can quickly pull up and just post their particular link in the chat, that'll help the students navigate between them. Because every time they have to go to a new window, there's risk of losing them, right? Whereas if they can just click on that chat, hopefully that'll ease the transition. But thanks for sharing that, Josh. That's a great idea. So we will be meeting each day this week, well, Tuesday to Thursday at 3 p.m. as curriculum partners. And we graciously, the teachers from the virtual school have offered to join us throughout those sessions to continue to share their tips and tricks with us. So if you don't mind actually in the chat, dropping down what are some of the topics you would like to talk about over the next few days. We really want to be responsive to your needs, and obviously we'll have question and answer time every day, but if there's specific content areas that you would like to discuss, we would be happy to see what we can do to accommodate that. So you can just drop those in the chat. Steph, was there anything else you thought of that we needed to add or cover today? I think that brings us to the end of our PowerPoint.
Just being gentle with yourself and taking time and knowing that things are going to take longer and there might be some frustration, and those are all part of the learning that happens whenever we do something new. So just taking time and trying to stay calm, and if there's stuff we can help you with, let us know.
I see a question there. I'm hoping maybe someone from the virtual school can answer it. I've heard that casting is a better way to share videos than sharing screen for audio. Any thoughts?
You mean like Screencastify?
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know. No, it's not Screencastify. It's a way of going into, it's a Google Meet thing where you hit the three dots and there's an option to cast. Someone shared how to do it on a video, and they said that sometimes that, because if you share your screen, you don't get the audio all the time.
You have to share in a tab for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but when you have the option, when you go to share your screen, choose a tab, which is the best for audio and video.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily go into the casting, or you haven't done that before, you've just done this straight. Okay, I think that this teacher used it for our virtual announcements and stuff, and she suggested it. So I haven't done either, so I was just wondering.
Is there
I haven't used it
at the virtual school that's familiar with that? I've only just shared the tab as well. And it definitely does not work if you don't share tab. If you share window or your screen, you will not get the audio. But if you click tab, I've never had a problem with the audio that way anyways, but perhaps someone from the virtual school can speak to that. It looks like they're all sharing the tab as well from the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing that did come up was letting kids know that the phone hanging up is how they leave the meeting, because a lot of them might not have ever seen a phone receiver.
Good point. What is this thing?
Right? Why would I use that to leave here?
And a lot of students will hit that by accident too when they're trying to unmute their mic. So they'll leave your meet when they're trying to answer a question. So just, you might want to tell them ahead of time that if they leave the meet, there is a rejoin button on the next page. So all they have to do is hit rejoin and it'll automatically bring them back into the meet. So they don't have to search for the link again.
Thank you. That's good.
It happens all the time.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing there's some interest for drama, music, phys ed. There's lots of interest out there for different types of activities. So we can try and build some time into those sessions this week where you can join a breakout room that makes sense for you and share ideas with each other. Because really, I mean, this is new for all of us, apart from maybe our virtual teachers, and hopefully they can join in as well whenever they are available and not with their students, that they can come and share some tips and tricks with us. So with that, if there aren't any further questions.
Kelly's just going to stay on for a minute at the end.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Angela, it's Rod. And I just, the sessions have been going really well. And this is the one session I haven't been able to record. So when you hang up, Angela, there'll be your computer will prompt you to, you were the first one in. So it said, you're the one that gets the recording. Okay. It'll record to you. And did I send you instructions on what to do with it? If I need?
Yep, I'll email it to you.
Yeah, if you could follow those instructions and get a link to me, then I'll have the whole set, okay?
Yep, no problem.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep. What were you going to say, Steph?
Kelly just wanted to stay on for a minute at the end.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay.
Lots of great sharing happening in that chat, though.
Yeah, lots of great ideas and good stuff.
So hopefully we will see some of you back here tomorrow if you're available and have some time to spare. We wish you all the best tomorrow, as I think for most of you, it'll be your first day reconnecting with your students. So good luck with that. Steph and I are available throughout the day. If at any point you want to just connect about something, drop us an email and we will do our best to set up a way to connect with you. But definitely at 3 o'clock, we'll be here again and we can connect that way. So have a lovely night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Bye.